Well, we're gonna see how far I can get. Take 3, apparently. I literally just brought something's up with my upload. I gotta call. It's really annoying, so I just dropped my bitrate down. We'll see if that actually does anything. But who knows? I have no idea what's causing it, and I don't have time to troubleshoot it. So I'm just going to keep going as fast as I can. All right, Torchic, Gold Star. It looks like this is probably an eBay listing, but it's all right. I have enough to work with, so we should be good. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I apologize for the issues, blah, blah, blah. Let's not dwell on it. We're just going to keep on keeping on. So, Torchic. Looks a little thicker on this right side, to be honest, than the left. And man, that is huge, because I have to like really zoom in. Probably won't even be able to use that tool. So this right side looks a little bit thicker than the left, for sure. The top edge looks good. A bit of silvering almost like on this right side of this Torchic. Additionally, we have some dirt on the bottom here, because I think this is the period in the sentence, so I don't think there's any issues there specifically. So what else? But other than that, it's just really just kind of edge wear, like almost like silvering edge wear. So if we flip it over, it looks like that edge wear kind of still carries over to this left side, because I don't think that that's part of the underbelly of the mat here, because we have a little bit of whitening there, a little bit of something there, and some stains here. You can kind of see on that back side, right where my mouse is, but possibly something that could be removed with a microfiber cloth. So not too bad, all things considered. And we'll get a little bit of there too. So yeah, I mean, really it's just the edges and some dirt is really, so this would be, you know, as an example, this would be a card that would probably benefit from cleaning, with just kind of some of this dirt and debris stuck on the card itself to improve that surface score. But the edges are pretty rough, right? So this outer edge is pretty rough on the left and the right, and you kind of see that carry over on the left and the right here. So depending on if it's as bad in person as it is in this picture, that looks like pretty jagged, right? You have like all these like kind of things sticking off the side of it even. So I mean, you're already looking at a 6 or a 5. The hollow actually looks in really good shape, you know, very mild scratching in that top left hand corner, but not really seeing much else on the surface at all, really. So I would say, you know, the stain is obviously going to be pretty significant in terms of the surface score. If that is a stain, if it can be removed, great. If not, that's not so hot. So I'd probably say if this can't be removed, this stain on the back, you're probably looking at a 5, would be my guess. But if you can, you know, you're probably even still looking at a 5, but maybe pushing it to a 6. But just because of how rough these edges are, they look pretty nasty, to be honest, on the left and the right. So you're probably looking at a 6, a 5 or a 6 in my opinion, for this Torchic. But yeah, that's my opinion. All right, keep it on. So next up, we have some spooky ghosts in the chat. So let's take a look. By Nova. Well, right now I don't have enough in the chat because I've had to restart 3 times. So I'm honestly a bit spooked to go through these before my stream just ends again. But if there's enough on both combined, because right now we're at 10, I want to make sure that I'm keep it on. So next up is a Sabrina's Gengar, the big hit from Gym Heroes. So let's take a look. Centering looks great. Let's see. So that top left corner looks good. A little bit of dirt here from what it looks like, which I'm going, and that's why it's doing that. So let's not have a spray can on. There you go. And I'm hopefully going to try to get through these, man, because my stream has crashed twice, but I reduced the bit rate. So we're going to see if this works or not. So fingers crossed for me, chat, because I'm going to try to get through this as best as I can. Guard, thanks so much for the hearts. I appreciate all the patience, guys. Thank you so much. So yeah, centering looks great. There might be maybe a fold here, but I don't really know what this is. We're back for now. Ty Guy, you might be able to tell us if this is a fold. It kind of looks like it goes all the way down that left side, but you can kind of see a little bit of a shadow here, which kind of indicates to me that that might be. And Guard, thanks so much for the band. I appreciate that. But besides that, the corners look really good. The hollow looks extremely sharp. We got a little bit of a scratch right within the magnifier there, right above where my mouse is. So we got that. And then what else? Aside from that, from this angle, it looks really good. And that's the other one. So from here, you can kind of see some of the other scratches kind of pop up, right? So we have some on the top there. We have some kind of on this left section, have some underneath the feet of the Gengar. But honestly, as to be expected for this Gengar specifically. And so as we flip it over, we do have some whitening on the back here. So let me just kind of highlight those real quick in green. So we got a little bit there, 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 there. A little bit in the bottom left. Boom. Got a little bit there too. So really it's just the whitening on the back, because the surface overall, the surface looks pretty good on the back part. And again, you know, some pretty I'm not sure if that's a fold on that. Yeah, on that left side. I don't know. Like in a way, it kind of looks like it, right? Because you kind of see that kind of shadowed all the way down. So I'm not really sure, especially right here. You can kind of see it a little bit. Did I make it into the queue? If you got added today, you did, but I don't know what your Discord name is. So, but yeah. So this picture, and let me see. It looks like we have enough. In both chats. Yeah, so if you guys want to, I'll open up it right now. We'll see how it goes. If you want to, awesome, Plague. So if you guys want to weigh in on what you think this Sabrina's Gengar would get, I'll open up the poll for YouTube and TikTok. So again, exclamation point grade followed by the number on what you think this Sabrina's Gengar would get. So first we'll get just to kind of go over, we'll let chat vote first, and then I'll put my assessment after chat. So again, exclamation point grade followed by the number on what you think this Sabrina's Gengar would get. So yeah, Plague, I'll go over everything that you'll need to go through on what you need to know. So I'll go over in depth for you. All right, so yeah, of course, Plague, for sure. Yeah, so Oza, if you didn't get added, then you're probably not in the queue for tonight. Or you can just check the grade review thread, and that should tell you who's in the queue. All right, so yeah, because it doesn't look like there's enough people for this to be quick here. So let me just do this. But chat, you guys are thinking a PSA 8. Anytime, my friend, anytime. Don't mean to bum you out, but All right, so now, like I said, for Plague and anyone else that is kind of new to this process, so now I'm going to go over what I think this Sabrina's Gengar would get. So first, we are looking at the centering, right? So the centering looks pretty good all around, so we got that going for us. The only thing that is tough for me to determine is whether or not this left side is creased. The reason why I'm thinking that is because you can kind of barely see a bit of a shadow kind of going all along that left side. So that's why I keep thinking that it's a crease, but I'll kind of weigh that in the back of my mind as we kind of get going here. But the corners are in really good shape. There's no whitening, there's no edge wear, there's nothing like that to be concerned about on any of them, really. The only thing that I am seeing now that I don't know if I brought up before is this little bit of dirt on this yellow part right above where the tip of my mouse is. So in most cases, if we leave that alone, that's going to impact the overall surface grade, right? However, if that is dirt, we can kind of take some distilled water on a Q-tip, very little water, mind you, and gently try to get that out, which would improve the grade. Because again, we are removing something that's added onto the card, and we're not actually adding anything to the card. Plague, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. So we have to kind of consider that as well, if it is or is not removed. So as we go over here, again, Sabrina's Gengar is probably one of the hardest cards to grade for Gym Heroes specifically because there's so much hollow when compared to the Gengar itself. So you can kind of see as I kind of take my mouse here, right, we have some clustered scratches here. We kind of have some all right in this section where the light is. I have some above the Gengar. We have some below, right? So there's going to be some scratches, but as to kind of be expected for this card specifically. So as we flip it over, you can kind of see my notes here is if I kind of flick before and after, anything that's highlighted in green is what would be considered whitening. So we look across, again, the centering is still pretty good on this card within the range of the PSA 10, a subgrade for the centering part, but obviously there's 4 subgrades we have to consider. So as we look around, right, I kind of turn on and off. There is some degree of whitening on those edges, right? So it's on the top, the bottom, and the bottom corners in the top right corner. The top left corner actually is in really good shape, and from this perspective, this left edge is good as well. So the question really becomes, you know, do I think that this card would be considered near mint or not? So again, going back to this side, so I don't know what this is, but my guess is that this is some fold of some form, because if it wasn't, then there wouldn't be this kind of darker shadow, so to speak. Tacos, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate that. So a part of me wants to say that it is a fold, but it's more of like a factory fold, it looks like, than anything, because otherwise it wouldn't be giving off this darkened, shadowed appearance on that left edge. And I'm going to leave my mouse there just so you guys can see, so I'm not moving it around. So we do have to think about that as well. But aside from that, the card looks like, from this perspective, you really can't even see it from this side. So it's really kind of hard to determine. So I'm going to have to kind of give 2 grades here almost. So in terms of the whitening on the corners, you know, we're starting to kind of get into like the lower near mint section. Additionally, we do see, and I'm kind of seeing it now, we do have some surface issues on that blue edge there. So you can kind of see it becomes a little bit lighter blue to the left of my mouse. Compared to the regular blue cardstock that we should be expecting to see. So there is going to be some of that surface issue kind of applying to that border. So I think with that, I would still probably say that we're starting to get into the light play category or the PSA 6. However, if this edge is in fact folded, then that's going to significantly decrease the grade even more. So we're probably even looking at a 4 to a 5 even. Probably a 5 more so than anything, because it is somewhat of a factory, but I don't know. It's really hard to tell. So I would think, based on what I'm seeing, I would probably say, so this is probably one of the rare instances where I'm kind of far off with chat, in my opinion. But I would think if that is not a fold on this left side here, I would probably say a 6, a very strong 6. And if it is, we're probably looking at a 5. Would be my guess. So chat was thinking 8 overall, and then I'm probably thinking a 6 to 5, depending on if this left edge is in fact a crease or not. Because again, we have some stains here that I don't know if we can clean or not. We have some scratching kind of all over the card, but it's not as bad, but it is present. And then we have the whitening on kind of all the edges. So let me move on to the next one. And so before I do, what are we doing here? Shuckle Juice. We are actually doing what's called grade review. So this is episode 39. It's a little rocky to begin with. My internet kept going in and out. But I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to jinx it. But so far, so good. And so all you have to do is, if you want your cards to be assessed free during one of our weekly Wednesday live streams, just go to my link in bio, and it should send you to my link tree. And when you're here, all you have to do is click or tap the Discord icon, and it will send you to the Discord, and then you just submit your pictures in the grade review channel. Again, it's completely free, but it is first come, first serve. So if you want expedited grading, the server does offer a subscription for $4.99 a month, which will give you expedited grading along with some other fun, cool perks. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, that's awesome, Shuckle. That's really cool. So yeah, that's how you send them. I just pulled the Alt-Art Rayquaza VMAX. Where do you recommend I grade at? Depends on if you're using it for your personal collection or if you're trying to do like a return on your investment. Normally, the best return on your investment is going to be PSA, unless you think it's going to black label, which would then be Beckett. But I personally don't go for black labels because there's just so many factors into it. Yeah, for sure, Plagues. And I can probably get into more of that for this Rockets Mewtwo for sure. Melvin, thanks so much for following. I appreciate that. Is my Koro Mew today? Again, if you guys want to know if you are up in the queue, I make the announcement in the Discord for the queue for the day. So just look for the thread in the grade review, and you'll be able to see if you're in or not. And RTO Gunna, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. All right. So the Rockets Mewtwo. I am not familiar with DSG grading. Honestly, I still, there's a ton of grading companies, so it's kind of sometimes it's kind of hard to, it kind of gets lost. But no, I've never heard of them. So I'm assuming us means you either, like you said, either work for the company or own the company, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so if you just go into the grade review channel, just go to the active thread. I always will post a thread for today's grade review. All right, so let's take a look. So centering, Plague. So normally on paper, for PSA specifically, we're looking at the edges, right? So the ratio that we're looking for is we're trying to get to close as 50-50 as possible, meaning, so this part on the left side that I'm kind of really thickening with green, and then on the left to the right, this needs to be as close to 50-50 ratio as possible. So what that means, right? So just as an exaggeration, right? Let's say this is a huge jumbo card, right? So if we wanted 50-50 ratio, right? So this, let's say that this left side is a 1/2 inch, right? So 50-50, this right side also needs to be a 1/2 inch. So that would mean that it's a 50-50 ratio, which would then help us get to the centering subgrade of a 10. And the same thing goes from the top to the bottom. So 50-50 pretty much all around, right? So top down, left, right needs to be 50-50. So as we kind of get, so what's called off center, right? So sometimes some of these edges will be, become like 60-40, right? Which would mean that it is off center because the left side is, so like, let's say 3/4 of an inch, to 1/4 of an inch. So therefore it's going to be much thicker on this left side than the right side, meaning that it's going to get a lower subgrade for centering. So that's what I mean by that. But for my guess, PSA on paper says 60-40 for the front. But based off of my experience, I think that's more catered to sports than anything. Because I have looked at cards that are within like that 60-40 quote unquote and still get 9s or even 8s. So normally like my kind of safe rule of thumb is that you should really go no more than 55-45 in my opinion. So that's just kind of my opinion on it. Again, PSA kind of on paper says 60-40, but sometimes I don't really don't really believe that all too much. If you want to just DM one of the moderators, Alexis, if you're in the Discord, they can definitely help you out. Okay, so the corners of this card look pretty good. So the corners of this Rockets looks pretty good based off of the lighting that we see. Bottom left looks good. Bottom right looks good. We do have a little bit, I'll kind of leave my mouse there. We do have a little bit of whitening right above the tip of my, right up the tip of my mouse. So I'll kind of highlight that real quick. So we got a little bit of something like right there. So as we save that for just a quick moment. So now we're going to kind of look at, you know, some of the surface of the text, right? So as we kind of look at this picture, luckily there's not a lot going wrong with the text per se, but obviously we have to kind of get into the hollow, right? So we have, I kind of like to call like clustering of scratches in that top right hand corner. So we have to kind of take note of that. And as we kind of go across the card, we do see some scratches kind of in this section, kind of like in the belly. So I'll kind of not have that be so big. I'll kind of circle these. So scratches in this section that we can see, and scratches in this section that we can see, at least for the front. So we'll save that and flip it on over. So as we flip it over, we are seeing some whitening in that top right corner. So let me clear that real quick. Clear that again. So we have some whitening here on that top right edge. Have a little bit there. Let's see. So we have a little bit on that bottom left. A little bit of the bottom right. And possibly a little bit there, but I don't know if that's the table or not. And then additionally, we have some scratches in here again, because I'm using a monitor, so it might be a little bit harder to see on mobile, but we have some scratches there, as well as a little bit of surface issue right at that point. There's going to be right there as well. But all in all, not too bad. So all my info, Ben, for my Discord, it should be in my link in my bio in my link tree. So if you click my link tree, you'll go here and then just click or tap the Discord icon to go through the onboarding process. So let's see. Shuckle, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that, by the way. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like we have enough people here. So this is where I will open it up for chat. So again, if you guys want to vote on what you think this Rockets Mewtwo would get as a PSA grade, just type in !grade followed by the number. Again, that's !grade followed by the number on what you think this Rockets Mewtwo would get. And whether you're watching me on YouTube or watching me on TikTok, all the votes will combine into one, and the winning vote will be the chat grade. So again, !grade followed by the number on what you think this card would get as a PSA grade. And while you guys are voting, I'm going to catch up with chat because it seems like a lot of people have been talking here. Can corner white dots be cleaned off with microfiber, or is that only viable for the surface? It's really, like, I would say, Samir, it's really more for like what's on the surface, because in most cases, if you see whitening on a corner, it tends to be that it was kind of like a small nick was removed. Is the kind of the best way. It's kind of like an over exaggerated way of explaining it, but it's something that you can't wipe off essentially. So in most cases, no. Anytime it's cool to see someone actually going through in depth on grading, I can tell you have experience. I appreciate that, Shuckle. Thank you so much. And I'll definitely have to check you out for sure. It's always cool to kind of, you know, see what other people are trying to do to kind of get into the hobby. Because again, I've been kind of, for context, I've been doing this since 2018, I think, 2018 grading. So I've just been kind of keeping track of my grades. Sebastian, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. Can humidity affect a card? Yeah, like on paper, yes, it can, right? Because it'll make it curl. Whitening is a lack of material, so wiping wouldn't work. Well, I guess it depends, Ben. I think what they're saying, you know, is sometimes like when you open up a pack fresh card, the white, like kind of like dust particles of the card stock can sometimes get stuck on the surface of the card. which can be removed. So depending on if they're talking about that, or if they're talking about, you know, the corner, like the actual whitened corner, you are correct. Yeah, you normally can't remove those, but sometimes I've seen both. Awesome, Plague. I appreciate that very much. And Pumpkin, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. All right, so let me... I have a first edition Dark Raichu that I want to get graded as a swirl. What does that mean? The swirl? The swirl just means that you have kind of like a cool variant, essentially. So that's really, it's kind of like a niche collector. Like for me personally, I love cards that do have swirls, because not all holos will have a swirl on them. And some cards even have 2 swirls. So it's really kind of like a niche collector goal. Kind of like how I kind of consider people that go after like black labels. That's like a niche collector, right? Like a very high-end niche collector. But yeah, swirls kind of offer, and to some people offer a little bit more of a premium because they are kind of overall sought after. So yeah, let me just end the poll here real quick and let me calculate what you guys are thinking. Let's see. All right, so overall chat grade is a PSA 7. So chat is a PSA 7. So perfect. So now it is my turn. So what do I think this Rocket's Mewtwo would get? So again, centering from this angle, again, we're kind of working at a tilted angle. Based off of my observation, it looks well centered. The corners are actually in really good shape, in my opinion. Let me take my magnifier tool. So the corners look good. The edges look fantastic from this angle. The only thing that I saw from the edge was just that one spot right above where my mouse is. But the rest of the text of the card actually looks in pretty good shape. So far so good there. But then as we kind of look across the card, we do see some mild scratching, and I'll kind of highlight that with my circles here. So we have the top right by the tail. So we have a little bit small clustering of scratches in addition to the left of the belly of the Rocket's Mewtwo. So we do have to consider that. And as we look on the back, if I kind of do a quick before and after, there's some mild issues on the back here, but not incredibly bad, all things considered, because I think a little bit like, because the light is coming from a certain direction, so some of this might get a little bit washed out from the picture. So really kind of like what it boils down to, just to kind of simplify it for you guys, kind of thinking out loud, is whether or not I think this card is light play or near mint, right? So light play, I would expect more whitening on the edges or a lot more scratches in this section or this section. And, you know, to be fair, based on some other different angles that we could see, there might be more scratches in these sections. But again, we're only really working with what we have at the moment. So I think if there is more scratches that we could obviously see, in addition to some more whitening on the back, I would be very confident to say that this would get a 6. However, since we're kind of just like right on that edge, I'm also kind of in agreement with you guys that we're kind of going into like the soft 7, hard 6 area. And so if I had to pick one, or like if I had to pick one or the other, I don't think, based off of what we're seeing, I don't think we're quite there yet to have it be a 6. So I think I also agree with you guys that I think that this card would also get the 7 as well. All right, so let's see. Just catch up with chat before I go on to the next one. Or actually, I'll just preload because we got some more vintage, including some Japanese. Got and again, kind of going back to an incredible swirl here. Not to kind of spoil it, but so like, for example, this swirl, you know, might be highly sought after by a certain collector because of the position. It kind of adds to the artwork, which is why the swirls tend to add some degree of a premium to a card, for sure. So that kind of double stacked swirl is pretty sick, for sure. Are you open to collaboration? I would love for you to predict your grades and check out our system. Yeah, Shuckle. I mean, yeah, definitely reach out to me. You know, I'd love to kind of, you know, I think just to be completely transparent with anything for like collaboration, I always like to kind of, you know, get the vibe of you guys first, just to kind of see if we kind of mingle well. But yeah, I'm definitely open to it for sure. Yeah, just shoot me a message or something like that. I'd love to kind of get to know your company a little bit more too, just to kind of see where your grading standards are and kind of compare, you know, what I observe compared to what you guys do. And yeah, it'd be cool. The most OC. Now you're making me. Oh god. I kind of preloaded that one, Ryan. I just saw that. But yeah, I definitely appreciate all the love and support, guys. Definitely means a lot. Let me just catch up with chat real quick before we move on to Ryan here. Let's see. I'm just catching up just to see if there's any big questions that I'd like to answer here. If a card is somewhat bent but no crease, is that considered in grading? Yes, it would be. Yeah, because bends could be kind of like waved in the card. I have a really good example. I don't know where it is right now. It's my infamous Erica's Ivysaur that's gotten a PSA 3 twice in a row. Because there is like a wave in the card or like a soft bend that you can't really see, but it almost kind of looks like that there's some water and it kind of like distorted it a little bit. So yeah, it could for sure. But yeah. All right. So Sabrina's Alakazam. First, again, to kind of answer your question, Plague, here's another little nice swirl here. Again, I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for swirls, chat, and this one is no exception. So we got a little bit of a swirl right there. So that's always cool. So yeah, let's take a look. All right, so it does look like, and I'm actually going to measure it with the ruler on the left side. So the left side, again, I'm pressing just the transparent ruler. So on the left, it's a 1/4 inch, and on the right, it's just shy of a 1/4 inch. So on paper, hey, Civic, how's it going? So on paper, this left side is a little bit thicker than the right, but I think it's still within that kind of that confines of the 60-40 or 55-45, whatever you kind of strive for. But I think we're still good, all things considered there. So as we kind of look around, the corners look great from this perspective. The hollow looks great. Again, no, and I don't think. Yeah, so we only have that one picture. So from what I can tell from this, the hollow pattern looks great. There's really no major scratches that I see or anything like that. So far so good. Really nice. So the edges, let's see. There's a stain on the back of the Pokeball white area. Let's see. Let's say some dust ends up on the card after it's sent to PSA. Would they grade it as if there was dust on it, or would they give an attempt to see if it's easily removable? That's a good question, Samir. I would think, like, you know, I think it would be interesting to see, like, you know, if it comes up in a scan, like when they receive it in its raw form, if the dust particle is on there, it might either be on top of the case because they'll just scan it as it was received in the facility. And when they take it out of the sleeve, you know, obviously if a piece of dust falls onto it, then they have to deal with it somehow, I would imagine. But yeah, sometimes if you see something in the scanning process, it might not actually mean that it's actually on the card. But you know, obviously if it's graded and it's still there, then you know it does happen, right? People's hair, like eyelashes, get stuck in the cases. Some people's hair gets stuck in the cases. So sometimes it does happen, for sure. But yeah, so you say that there's a stain on the back of the Pokeball white area. At least from my perspective, unless it's this, and you might be able to kind of verify this or not, but it, like, maybe here. Is that where it is? And kind of towards like the right side? Yeah, that dot. Okay. So we have that. Yeah, and sometimes, and like you said, Ryan, sometimes it just can't come off. You know what I mean? And, you know, obviously, you know, take a good attempt at it based off of kind of the stuff that I like to show off during my streams. But, you know, definitely kind of, you know, if too much is too much, just kind of leave it there because you don't want to damage the card any more than you want to. So we do have a little bit of whitening here. So I'm just going to kind of mark that with a little white dot. And then possibly there. But again, based off of kind of the lighting, like obviously this kind of glowed edge is not all just whitening. So we have that. I'll save that and kind of keep looking at the card. Sounds good, Blake. I'll be here. So I think, so someone was saying about the whitening before. So I'm gonna not do that. Hold on. All right, guess I'm just gonna stick with it then. So here, roughly, in that section, so save that, go here. So something like this, for example, like that, those little white specks that are kind of like to the left of my mouse pointer here, or above and below. If that's kind of like fuzz or stuck on there, you can just use like a microfiber cloth and kind of wipe that off. So that will obviously improve your surface score because it's not stuck there anymore. Sounds good, Shuckle. Sounds good. Mike, thanks so much for liking the live. I pulled 2 dupes off the same Crown Zenith box. Look at you. Hopefully they're good dupes. Hopefully that's a good problem. But yeah, so something like that you can probably wipe off. Hopefully, if that's just kind of stuck on there. Let's see. In addition to this too, because I don't know, that doesn't look rough enough to make it kind of look like, to make it look like it's like a surface issue. But again, since you're here, you can probably clarify too. A Radiant charge a bug. Man, rolling in with the bugs. Why don't they clean the card? Honestly, because it's not their job, right? It's not their job to clean it. That's really kind of like the blunt answer, to be honest. But obviously, you know, if they put something on there, it should be their responsibility to wipe it off, right? But can't wipe the ones at the bottom. Okay, so those are kind of stuck. So those are a little bit of some surface issues. Yeah, so the left side. Okay, so that's what you're saying. The left side is dust. But aside from that, the corners are pretty good shape. For the Sabrina's Alakazam. You know, so I'm thinking like just because of how clean the front looks, and I think the centering I think is still within that range, in my opinion. And the back, the corners look really sharp. Really, the only thing, you know, and like this little white speck, for example, if this was the only thing wrong with the card, I would still say that would be a 9. But I think with some of this here, you know, you might still be like a 9, but maybe more closer to like a really good 8. But let me just check the holo one more time, because again, if that's on the surface that you can't get rid of, additionally with this stain even, and I'm glad I kind of remembered the stain, because that'll have some degree of it too. For sure, Dia. So in my description, there should be a Linktree link. If you go to there, you'll get redirected to this page. So all you have to do is click or tap that Discord icon, and you can just go to the grade review channel. The onboarding process will guide you there. So just submit your pictures. It's completely for free. It is first come, first serve, unless you want your review expedited, because I stream every Wednesday. In which case the Discord server does offer a $4.99 a month subscription to have expedited grading or grade review. But yeah, no, it's totally free. It's totally free. So yeah, I would say with the stain, like if you can't get rid of the stain per se, but it, like from this picture, it looks pretty minimal. So I think because like how good the condition is, because I like it really, you know, when I kind of put my marker here, right, it doesn't really look that bad. But again, I'm kind of looking at through a screen and how you took the picture and all that stuff. So I'd probably say, just to kind of keep things moving here, I would probably say probably a 7 would be my guess with that stain, and the issue on the bottom. But who knows, maybe it might not be as bad in person, and I'd still kind of say the 8. But I think just to be conservative, I would probably say, you know, anywhere from a 7 to an 8 would be my guess, judging by that stain, because it's kind of hard for me to kind of determine like kind of the range of that stain just based off of the picture. Thank you, Jewel. I appreciate those kind words. What's your card cleaning setup? We are so close, Betty. We're so close to the 10K. It's crazy. It's super crazy. But yeah, I would say 7 or 8, depending on how severe that stain is in person. All right, so let's see. So yeah, my card cleaning setup. So basically, if you just go to the shop, everything that I use is in here in the cleaning essentials. I don't have an affiliate code for any of it, with the exception of the Tomlov microscope that I use, like Jewel was talking about. But yeah, Ryan, if that were my, like, if you were to ask me if I would grade that Sabrina's Alakazam, I personally would, just because A, the swirl, and B, you might get that my rule of thumb for vintage is if I think it's going to get an 8 or above, I'll just submit it anyway. And you're kind of like right on that edge anyway, that you'll be pretty good. But yeah, if that were me, that's what I would do. Okay, next up is a pretty big one. The Japanese Lugia Neogenesis with the double fat swirl by the feet. So let's take a look. Centering looks really good. And then from this perspective, the corners look great. And again, I've mentioned it before. Maybe a little fold right here, but I'll have to look on when we flip it over, we'll have to look in the bottom right. But maybe, and you might actually be able to tell us, Ryan, if there is a little fold right here in that bottom left corner. I don't know if you guys can see it on stream or not. You might have to really squint, but I don't know if that's a fold or not in the bottom left corner. But anyway, while we wait for Ryan to hopefully get back to us. There is no fold? Okay, so it's just probably the lighting then. So yeah, with normal types, especially with Lugia, so the Lugia from Neogenesis is extremely hard to 10 because of this huge area. Well, first, it's a normal type, which has, you know, like, it makes the card so much harder because the scratches come up so much easier. But additionally, there's a lot of hollows, like, to be able to get scratched in this section, and we do have a little bit of scratching here, right above my mouse. So we do have to kind of consider that as well. But that double swirl is so nice. But other than that, from this angle, that's really all I see. It's just that one little scratch. And I'll kind of even highlight it real quick. And I'll kind of draw on it. So right there. I have that card in English. There's quite a few scratches around the swirl. Okay. Yeah, because from this angle... Yeah, from this picture, I really can't see it other than that one by the kind of the nose of the Lugia. But as we flip it over, I thought you were flipping me off there for a second. Mike 5, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate you. But yeah, the corners on the back look really good. The centering looks really good. Yeah, the corners and centering look really good. And the surface looks amazing on the back. Yeah, the back looks flawless. Even the centering, right? So if you guys have ever, you know, measured centering, you're pretty much using this red line that's kind of around the border. That's why I personally like the older Japanese. It makes the centering so much easier to assess because it's just red, boom, red, boom. And I think it's really well centered from top down, top, bottom, left and right. Yeah, it's a really good Lugia Jewel. I agree. It's really just, you know, really just kind of the scratches that I'm seeing right there. That's really the only one. But then Ryan obviously said that there are some additional pictures or additional scratches that might be on other pictures. But all in all, you know, I think regardless, Ryan, just to kind of keep things moving here, unless you send it now. But I think if there are some scratches in this section, which I wouldn't be surprised, I still think this card is in extremely good shape based off of what I'm seeing. So unless it's like that Sabrina's Gengar that we were looking at before, I think this card, I sent it already. Let's see. Oh, beautiful. Hey, you used the thread. Thank goodness. Ooh, the jeweler microscope makes a return. So look at this, chat. So here are some of those scratches that were. So this was the one that I highlighted before, the jeweler's microscope. So we have that one there. And then here are some of those, so I'll actually highlight them. I know this is so cool. I'm actually so glad you did this. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so we have one right here. I'm gonna try it very hard to draw within the lines. So we have boom, boom. But these are so light, dude. Very, very, very faint. So that's kind of where some of those scratches that I'm seeing currently. And it kind of looks like the Lugia is kind of spitting out the green that I'm putting on. And that might not be the best color, but so yeah, so I would still say though, the scratching on this is pretty mild, to be honest. I still think my statement still stands, like even within this section that we're kind of looking at. I still think you're probably gonna get like the 8, because this card is so clean, dude. I would definitely submit this for sure, just because it's a Lugia. It's in really good shape. But yeah, that Lugia is so nice. Kate, thanks so much for the follow. Monty, thanks for the like in the live. You've already submitted. Awesome. Well, definitely let us know. Definitely let us know what you get for sure. How many have you done, and how many do you plan on doing? I think 18 or 19 tonight total. And I've gone through most of them for tonight at least, because it's based off of a queue. But again, certainly submit your cards sooner rather than later. It's completely free. Just click the link in my bio or description. But every Wednesday, like what Betty said, every Wednesday we review the community members' cards for free and just give my 2 cents, as well as the community, on what we think these cards would get. It's a fun little activity, I guess, just to kind of, help each other improve and kind of see some hidden gems that otherwise might be passed up, from people who may or may not know what to look for. So I just kind of give my 2 cents of everything, kind of how I assess cards. And I do track every time I submit to PSA, for example. I always like to think, okay, I'm thinking it's going to get a 7. And if it comes back as a 7, I kind of record that almost like a batting average. So this is kind of a nice way to do that. Steven, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. But yeah, and Break Room, thank you so much for the tiny dinies. I didn't want to miss that. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I did not miss it. Thank you. Let me just catch up here. All right, so next up we have the Light Arcanine with a nice little, again, a nice swirl. Shuckle, thanks so much for the rose. Appreciate you. And the tiny diny. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate all the love and support, guys. At the end of the day, I like doing this just for the community. And the fact that we can kind of get together and look at some really cool cards and just try to, improve, because I'm the first person to say it. Anytime someone, shows me or corrects me in any way, I always love to keep learning and improving, because there's so much to learn in this hobby. And I just really appreciate every single one of you for sticking around. So it really does mean a lot. I got a cool swirl from an Oshawott promo. Nice. What are your thoughts on grading guards? Are those like the little bumpers? I mean, they're cool. I think they're cool if people like them. It's kind of like to each their own. Shuckle, thanks so much for the controller. I appreciate that very much. What made you want to start collecting Pokemon? Did you play the TCG at all, or just exclusively collecting? You know what? Before I look at this Light Arcanine, because I think there's a few you guys that are kind of new. So here, hello. So that back wall right there, just as an example, Daya. So that's my actual childhood collection that I had since, because I started with Pokemon Red and Blue. I remember Christmas, I opened up the Pokemon Pikachu Special Edition Game Boy Color, and I've been hooked ever since. And so I've been collecting forever. So those cards on the wall, well, actually you're on YouTube, so you probably saw the whole time anyway. My chats are all mixed up. But yeah, so I've been doing it forever. Pokemon has always been such a huge part of my life. It's gotten me through some tremendous times, highs and lows. But yeah, that's why, again, I'm super grateful and super appreciative of all you guys showing all the support and just having an opportunity to kind of get together as a fun community and just kind of look at some cool cards at the end of the day. That's awesome, Daya. No nice nursing home for her, right? All right, so let's keep on keeping on. So the Light Arcanine. So right off the bat, we're talking about the centering. So this one, for example, you know, this left side is obviously much thicker than the right. So we're kind of probably looking for a centering score specifically. We're probably looking at an 8 for the centering specifically. I'm not talking about the whole grade, but I'm probably talking about the centering score out of the subgrade is probably an 8 so far on the front. So we got to keep that in mind. But aside from that, gonna take that. The corners look really good. The corners look good. The edges look great. It's just really the centering. And even the hollow, that nice swirl right there. Yeah, that's what it looks like, Ryan. Because the rest of this card looks in phenomenal shape. You know, that there's no scratching on the text. There's really no scratching on the hollow from what I can tell. Which is great. And then as we look on the back, there's no scratches on the hollow. I mean, it doesn't look like it. Yeah, man, it's really just, that's so unfortunate. It really just looks like it's just the centering on the front. Because you can kind of see here on the left, compared to the right, it looks really good. The top bottom looks good. Maybe a little bit thicker on the right side, but I think it's still within the confines there, I think. But yeah, all 4 corners are absolutely great. The surface is phenomenal. It's really just the centering. So I'm thinking just because of how off center it is, you'll probably get an 8 anyway. But man, what a phenomenal, like the condition of this card is great, and everything is huge because I had to zoom in so bad. But so yeah, I'm thinking probably with just the centering alone, you're probably looking at an 8. Tyler, thanks so much for the subscription over on YouTube. Appreciate you. Could one little spot of whitening in the corner still be a 10? I would say in most cases, Hippo, no. Because I've said it a few times with modern cards, you know, for pretty much 10 or bust, right? And in most cases that there is a little bit of whitening on one of the corners, chances are, more so than not, it's not going to get the 10 because of that. That's just, again, based off of experience and all that stuff. So just kind of keep that in mind. Okay, so yeah, Ryan, thank you so much for that awesome submission, man. A lot of really cool cards, for sure. So let's see, what do we have next? Let us see. Next up, we have the Aerodactyl. And this one actually, just to kind of answer your question, Hippo, this might actually help. Actually, it will, just based off of the quick glance I just had on that Aerodactyl. So I'll kind of, again, I'm just going to speak purely on my own experiences. And so let me zoom in here. So again, for modern, again, it's really kind of PSA 10 or bust, right? So the centering of this card looks to be very well centered. Because it's really centering and corners are the 2 biggest issues that I see with modern specifically. So the centering looks really good, the corners look great, and then the surface, you know, it's going to look great. The texture's there. And so on the back, it actually does look a little bit thicker on this right side than it does on the left. But I think it's still within the range of that kind of like 60-40. I know it's a little bit thicker on the back, but 70-30 is a lot in my opinion. So I still kind of like to stick for 60-40 on both front and the back. But I think you're good there. So the only thing that I really see, possibly, is what we were just talking about, Hippo, which is, I don't know if that's a little bit of something that's like on the outer edge, or actual whitening on the corner. Trev, as always with the hearts. How's it going, Trev? How's it going, brother? So if that is on like the outside of the card, you should be good. But I'm trying to look at anything else here. And I don't know. I think that's just the lighting because the light is kind of coming in this. How's it going, Eli? Friend, thanks so much for sharing the live. Appreciate you. Eli, thanks for liking the live. Appreciate you guys. But yeah, I think if this is whitening, for example, like if that is a white dot, I don't think it would get the 10, but I think it almost like kind of looks like it's on the outer edge, like kind of like that can kind of just be like wiped off almost. So I don't know. That's kind of hard to tell, just based off of this picture, whether or not that is a white dot that cannot be removed, or can be removed. So if it can't, it probably won't get the 10, but if it can, you have a pretty good shot at a 10 for this Aerodactyl for sure. So that is my assessment on that. Ooh, next up, more gold stars, chat. The gold stars just keep coming, but this one's probably, I would imagine, just based on how beat this card is, I'm imagining that it's probably going to be like the anti-10 or the PSA 1 or bust, would be my guess. So let us take a look at this poor beat Suicune Gold Star. So let's see. So again, we're pretty much looking for PSA 1 or bust at this point, right? Yeah, Chris, this is pretty brutal. So let's see. So yeah, pretty much this card is just water stained all over the place, right? Because we have some rippling here, like pretty much right down the middle. Maybe it was like used to be underneath, like doing dishes or something. I don't really know. But yeah, it's like all the water's kind of like all underneath the card. Normally that's kind of like where you get that bubbling. Just submitted my Dark Raichu card. Awesome, Plague. Sponge. It's definitely SpongeBob vibes for sure, because this thing is soaking up all the water. So it's pretty much all across the card. The centering's good, and the corners, you know, for better or worse, look pretty good. Again, you know, all that water damage you're kind of seeing kind of soak in between that cardstock, from the hollow to the cardstock. That's normally when you kind of see these kind of bubbles. It is a water type. You are right, Games. It is a water type. Friend, just give me 1 second and I'll tell you exactly how to submit your cards for free. And yep, that again, this type of damage is pretty much like a telltale sign of water damage, like those ripplings on the cardstock. So it definitely got wet at some point, but it is a water type. So that's what I'm saying, Chris. Like you know, for the most part, even the whitening on the edges, like they're not bad. Like it's still like light play, like outside of the water damage. The whitening really isn't that bad. It's just man, it's just rough. So yeah, I think we have enough people in here. We can try to throw a quick vote on what you guys think, what this weekend would get. Yeah. So for whether you're watching me on YouTube or TikTok, I'm going to open up the votes for the chat grade. So if you want to vote on what you think this Suicune Gold Star would get as a PSA grade, just type in ! grade followed by the number. Again, ! grade followed by the number on what you think this Suicune Gold Star would get as a PSA grade. And then the winning vote is going to be the chat grade. So again, ! grade followed by the number. Whether you're on YouTube or TikTok, the winning vote will be the chat grade. So while you guys are voting, I'm going to catch up with chat. Let's see. How can I get a card checked? So if you go into my bio, there should be a link tree. And all you have to do is just, well, basically you'll just go here and then just tap or click the Discord icon and it will send you to the Discord. And then you'll go through an onboarding process and you'll be directed to the grade review channel, and then just submit your cards there. Again, it's completely free to do this. I do this every Wednesday for the community, start at 7:00 p.m. Eastern, and we just review cards for free. It is first come, first serve. So if you do need your cards, if you feel like you need your cards kind of expedited, if you need them done faster, the server also offers a subscription. For the most inexpensive option is the cadet tier at $4.99 a month, $4.99. I can't say currency for whatever reason because I don't want to get banned. And that will give you expedited grading service every time. Oh, for sure, Jewel. Hohen, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. So yeah. And then one other question before I close the poll. Again, if you guys want to vote, if you're just tuning in on what you think this Suicune Gold Star would get, just type in ! grade followed by the number, and there's the back. It's even worse. Should I get my cards graded with PSA or BGS? It really just depends on your what your ROI is, if that's a concern for you, or if it's just your personal collection. If it's for your personal collection and you really don't intend on selling it, then it really just kind of depends on what slabs you like better, what they look like, whatever. But for ROI specifically, on average, the best ROI is going to be for PSA, unless you think it's probably going to get a black label, in which case that'd be for Beckett. Friend, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. All right, so the chat is thinking. So you guys are thinking that this card would get... Let me just pop this back up. You guys are thinking a PSA 2. So chat is a PSA 2 enjoyer. All right, so now, what do I think this waterlogged Suicune Gold Star would get? So, like I just said, this thing is drenched. It's a water type. It is living up to its name. The centering is really good, and the corners are actually not too bad. It's literally just all of this water damage that is obviously going to significantly impact the grade, right? So we're already, like, at the best, it's probably going to be a 3. So when we flip it over, you see more of that evidence of that water damage all across the back of the card, right? So this whole wave right down the middle, like parting of the Red Seas, this card is being parted right down the middle with water damage. So really the question is, you know, do I think this card is ungradable? Meaning that when a card is ungradable, it's like the structural integrity of the card is no longer there. Meaning like a dog bit it, like ripped it in half, whatever, right? It still looks like a card, right? So it can still be graded. But the question is, you know, is it a 2 or a 1? Meaning, is this the absolute worst condition that this card can get to get a 1? And, you know, my gut says that, you know, weirdly enough, I think this card could be in worse condition to warrant the 1. So I think, you know, because like I said, the centering is actually really good, and the front of the corners actually don't look that bad. It's really just the water damage. And I think, you know, if this card is worse, I would say a 1. But I don't think it's a 1, guys. I just don't think it's a 1. So I think I'm right there with you. Is that I think this card also would get a 2. So chat, you guys are 2, and then I am also 2. It could be worse. Maybe punch it or something and make it a 1. That's what I'm saying, Ben. Just beat it up. It is not the Vaporeon from the other day. Definitely not, games. It is definitely not that Vaporeon for sure. I forgot what we gave that Vaporeon. Was it a 2 or a 3? I can't remember. It was also pretty rough. I think they were trying to go for a PSA 1 contender, but I could not remember what we assessed it as. I dragged the... Yeah, maybe... Actually, you know what, Ben? I think this card needs to be dunked in more water. I think the water damage isn't as bad. I think we should totally submerge the Suicune in water. Maybe put it in an ice block, maybe? Because Suicune is kind of like ice type-ish. Got that ice type vibe. So yeah, maybe put it in a brick of ice and see if we can flatten it out that way. Send it sopping wet. Yeah, just like stuff it in like a Nalgene bottle or something. And say that's like the protective coating that you wanted to use for shipping. Instructions unclear. Instead of using cardboard, I used a full bottle of water to put the card into. All right, next up, probably one of my favorite names of the Discord, which is Ugly Ass Caterpillar. So Ugly Ass Caterpillar is up next with some modern chases. So let's take a look. Again, I love the paper towel strat. I've said it. I think I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The paper towel strat comes in clutch. So let's take a look. Will it yield good results, chat? We will find out momentarily. If the paper towel strat is the way to go. Maybe this is the paper towel strat that the Suicune Gold Star needed to soak up all that water, but you know, it is what it is. It be what it be. So we got the Tyranitar. Boom. And boom. All right. So get rid of that. All right, so let us look at some moderns. So first up is the Galarian Zapdos. Centering looks, I think, within the range. We should be good. Like at first glance, this left side looks a little bit thicker than the right. But I think it's still within the range, so I'm not too worried about it. Corners look good on the front. So far, so good. And then in terms, I think I missed a picture. I did. So in terms of the back of this, It looks to be pretty good. The only thing that I see, though, and I think it... I don't know. It's like... And I don't know if you guys can even see it. I'll try to do my best. Might have to move it over a little bit. Is that I do see a little bit of a... Maybe not. Maybe that's just my eyes kind of playing tricks on me. I thought I saw a scratch up here, but I don't think so. So I mean, it looks good. Centering, I think, is still within the range. This could be a potential. The only thing, though, that I'd have to kind of request from the ugly ass caterpillar would be if there's a scratch up here, but I can't really tell because of how zoomed in I have to kind of make it. So this does have the potential. If you kind of just clear that, if whether or not that's a scratch on the back. A lot of my, and then I would probably measure this side too, this right side. It might still be within the range, but I'd probably measure that just in case. So your homework would be measuring that and then just checking to see if there's a scratch on the back, on the top. Oh yeah, definitely a strong 9 regardless, consider. I agree. Modern centering is so hard to check on the front. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so the Reveroom looks to be well centered because I have to kind of tilt my head to kind of look at it. And then I think there's really not much we need to look at for this one. Yeah, there's really not much going on with that. Let's see. This looks good with the exception. Oh yeah, for sure, Ali. I apologize it took me so long. You'll kind of see because the VODs had to kind of get broken up because my stream crashed like 3 times. So it was like right during your Dialga. So apologies for that. You might have to watch it in pieces, but yeah, we got through it. So the only thing I see on this one is a little bit of white dot there, and so in this orientation it would be on the bottom right corner. So if that is there, you might not get the 10, unless it's not that bad. But normally when I see like little white specks like that, you know, there are going to be some modern cards specifically, you know, that won't have that, so that would warrant the 10, but this one wouldn't, kind of thing. So yeah, probably not with that little bit of whitening, but again, if you can remove it, great, but it doesn't look like you can. So I don't think that would. And you can kind of see it a little bit here as well, right where the tip of my, guys can't even really see it, but there we go. Like right where the tip of my mouse is, like right there. But the event ended. Well, it's because I'm over I normally would end at 10, but my stream crashed, so I gotta like kind of make up here. But yeah, I would say that probably is most likely gonna get a 9. Is this just to see if it's worth sending to PSA? I mean, kind of to a degree. It's honestly more for people who just like who want their cards graded but don't kind of like want to pay for PSA or whatever. Just want like a general like, hey, you know, like what do you think this card would get kind of thing. Just like more out of curiosity. So every Wednesday I've been doing, this is episode 39, so I've done this 39 times in a row, pretty much every Wednesday. And it's completely free. I just offer it free for the community. I just kind of give my opinion on what I think these cards would get in addition to chat on certain ones. Normally for modern, I tend to kind of go a little bit faster because really we're just looking for centering and corners because it's pretty much just a PSA 10 or bust. No worries, Dia. That's literally why I'm here. I'm here to help answer any questions and you know, address any concerns that you guys might have. Alex, thanks so much for the follow. Nice. The value doesn't go up until it's actually PSA grades. Yeah, I would say in most cases, Weber. So that's why, like for modern, that's why I say PSA 10 or bust. Because most people will kind of agree that if a card's gonna get a 9 as a modern, you know, modern printing technology is so good that, you know, if it's not perfect, then, you know, for example, I think the last time I looked at the Moonbryon, right? So the Umbreon VMAX alt art from Evolving Skies, I think the PSA 10 percentage rate was around 80%, right? So 80% of the Moonbryons that get submitted to PSA are 10s. So why should I pay an elevated price for a 9 if I can just get that as a near mint copy? You know what I mean? So normally that's why 10s tend to yield a higher price than its raw counterpart. But if it gets a 9 or lower, it's just better just to sell as near mint. ungraded in most cases. Ted, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. So that's why I kind of say 10 or bust. Is there a specific company that are better for grading? It depends on what, again, like when people ask me like what company I would go for grading, it really just depends on your goals. If you're trying to resell, you know, as of now, PSA will give you the best return on your investment. But if you're just solely doing it for your own personal collection, it really just personal preference on what cases you like better or whatever. So like this Tyranitar EX. This Tyranitar EX is very well centered. Corners look great. That's a kind of cool shot. It makes it look yellow. But this card, for example, you know, this is kind of the stuff that I like to kind of highlight on this channel, you know, because in some content creators, there's no one in particular that I'm even thinking of, but some content creators will say, hey, you know, pack fresh equals PSA 10, right? And Daya, since you're new, this is kind of good to know, right? So if this was pack fresh, for example, you can kind of see these weird scuffs across the top of the card. You know, even though this was pack fresh, you know, that's not going to get the 10, right? Because those are issues that, you know, the ugly ass caterpillar had no control over, right? So unfortunately, this probably wouldn't get the 10 because of these like weird white streaks that were probably, I don't know, just this is as a speculation. Maybe it like had an issue, you know, off the roller or whatever. But because of those, that probably won't get the 10. So that's just always stuff that you kind of have to consider. So as we do these streams and as you guys start to kind of frequent these grade reviews, and as we learn together, you know, you can kind of get better at understanding, okay, you know, is this near mint card at a local game show or a card show? Like, do I think it's worth getting graded? And so as we start to develop more of these skills and kind of hone our ability to kind of look for cards that are worthy of getting 10s, you know, ultimately you're setting yourself up for success to get really good deals from vendors or shows that are selling cards in near mint that you can grade and potentially get PSA 10s if you know what you're looking for. So for example, if you found this Tyranitar EX as selling as near mint at a show, you know, it won't get the 10 because of this. So therefore, if you're trying to get cards to try to grade as potential 10s, you should pass on this one as an example because it won't get the 10 because of these and I'll kind of highlight it just in case. So we got 1, 2, 3 of these like streaks going across the top. So yeah, that is my, yeah. And I also agree, Jewel, the ugly ass caterpillar, that's probably one of the coolest names I've ever seen. I mean, I'm gonna be straight up, probably cooler than mine. And the fact that he has that fat worm as his PFP from A Bug's Life, that green one, that makes it even better. So yeah, so that is grade review chat. And so normally I'd be playing a game, but I've had to restart and stall so long that, you know, it is what it is. Here I am. So yeah. So what else is new so again, if you guys are new here, if you guys want to submit your cards for a free grade review or want to just learn more about what I do in my channel and everything like that, definitely check the link tree in the description or the bio to submit your cards for free for next grade review. Again, it's first come first serve, so there is a bit of a queue. Just click or tap that Discord icon, and the onboarding process that Discord I have baked into the server will guide you through the grade review channel and how to submit properly and all that fun stuff. We hit 400 Discord members. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much. The support is mind-blowing, to be honest. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for the education and guidance. Awesome, Daya. I appreciate that very much. Hey, Ken, how's it going? But yeah, we have people post some crazy collections in there. Like, some of you guys have some crazy cards that I've never seen before. You know what I mean? So yeah. So I definitely appreciate all the love and support. We're almost at 10K followers over on TikTok. And I think what I was telling people is I'm going to hopefully dig out my personal collection to show on stream. You know, what I have in my personal life pretty much never sees the light of day. Because normally I don't even have it in my house. What's this stream about? So normally on Wednesdays, I do a grade review where I kind of review cards and people that submit in the Discord and give my assessment on what they think, I think they'd get as a PSA grade. In addition to chat, also a weigh in. And I do this as a small business. So like all this stuff right here, all these binders, I just got done with a show on Saturday. So I kind of give some insight We also talked about some Pokemon news. We talked about people using real PSA labels and basically kind of printing them in a way, meaning like they just keep submitting the same card over and over and over again, getting the same grade over and over again, and then taking those real labels and putting them in fake slabs. We talked about the new GameStop kind of acting as a grading middleman, and I was kind of weighing my pros and cons about that, and I just answered just general Pokemon business questions. So a little bit more advanced side of Pokemon collecting. Like, obviously I love looking at cards. Like, at the end of the day, we're all collectors, and I'm just trying to provide my insight on what I look for, just to kind of educate you guys as much as I possibly can. I'm not trying to shove products down your throat. If you guys want to support me, great. I have merch, I have all that stuff, but I'm never shoving it down anyone's throat, because at the end of the day, my main priority is to kind of educate you guys as best as I can, and we learn together, and we try to avoid people that are trying to scam us or whatever, because at the end, like, it sucks, right? No one wants to get scammed. No one wants to have the wool pull over your eyes. No one wants to have information withheld. I want to make sure that we're all as prepared as possible, so we all can succeed at the same time. There's enough to go around at the end of the day. And that's all I'm about at the end of the day. I wonder how many times I could say at the end of the day. Who knows? But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I would say, again, make sure to submit your cards if you want to have your cards reviewed for grade review. Sooner the better, because it is first come, first serve. However, if you do want to support me and the channel, as well as getting expedited grading services, the Discord does offer subscriptions, which will give you expedited grading services if you post in the Cadet, Pilot, or General, depending on which subscription you got. I'm wrapping it up right now, Rye, for sure. I'm just wrapping it up because the stream crashed like 3 times for whatever reason. My upload just like tanked. So I don't know if I had something running in the background that was doing like an upload or whatever. But anyway, but yeah. And then I have a show coming up, like I said, at the end of November. So I'm going to start slowly getting prepared for that. I have collections to process. There's so much stuff I gotta do. So much stuff. I have the vendor show that I got to edit the video from Saturday. That's probably gonna take me 2 weeks or so to kind of go through. So yeah, guys, I really do appreciate all the love and support. It really means the world to me. I could not do any of this without you guys. And I'll catch you in the next one.